I warmly welcome His Excellency the Secretary General, His Excellency Mr. Antonio Guterres, and give him the floor.
Senhor Presidente.
Mr. President, Excellencies, I thank Mozambique for bringing us together to discuss Africa's crucial role in maintaining peace and security.
Go on in English. Today's discussion is about peace in Africa itself, but also strengthening Africa's role in peace and development globally. Excellencies, Africa is an important voice for the global good. The continent is home to many examples of unity and solidarity in a fractured world. We see this unity in Africa's focus on ending poverty and hunger, supporting refugees fleeing across borders, and achieving sustainable development. And we see it in the continent's efforts to work together to build a modern, diverse, innovative, and powerful continental economy to benefit all Africans. From the African Union's Agenda 2063 and the African Continental Free Trade Area, to African countries leading the way on renewable energy systems like solar and wind, a continent with the potential to become a renewable energy superpower. To Africa's bold calls for reforming the global financial architecture so it better serves and represents the countries who need it most. Mr. President, all of these efforts require peace in Africa and beyond. Too many Africans are caught up in the hell of conflicts or living with the relentless danger of terrorism and violent extremism in their communities.
Like this at every major entry to the city. Al-Shabaab no longer has a hold here, but its presence is still tangible. Abdikani Sahonso commands several of the checkpoints. He says every vehicle must be cleared before it enters.
Whether it's a tuk-tuk, motorcycle, small car or lorry, 3 officers must inspect it. One checks it physically, another uses a digital tablet to record the details.
South Africa's expanding diplomatic engagement with Somalia has drawn growing attention from the United States, marking a significant moment in Africa-led security and peace initiatives. The evolving relationship highlights a shift in how African nations address regional instability, with capable states stepping forward to support fragile regions while global powers increasingly adopt a supportive rather than directive role. The United States' response to South Africa's involvement in Somalia reflects a broader reassessment of Africa's capacity to manage its own security challenges through cooperation, diplomacy, and regional legitimacy. Somalia has long been a focal point of international security efforts due to decades of state collapse, insurgency, humanitarian crises, and institutional rebuilding. The United States has been one of Somalia's most consistent international partners, providing military assistance, intelligence support, development aid, and humanitarian relief. However, Washington has increasingly emphasized the importance of African leadership in ensuring durable peace, recognizing that regional actors bring political credibility, cultural understanding, and long-term commitment that external interventions alone cannot achieve. South Africa's engagement with Somalia fits within this evolving framework. As one of Africa's most influential diplomatic actors, South Africa has historically played key roles in mediation, peacekeeping, and post-conflict reconstruction across the continent. Its own experience with negotiated political transition and institution building has informed its approach to diplomacy and conflict resolution. South Africa's outreach to Somalia signals a renewed emphasis on continental solidarity and African-led solutions to persistent security challenges. The United States has welcomed this approach, viewing South Africa's involvement as complementary to existing international efforts rather than a competing initiative. American officials have repeatedly stressed that long-term stability in Somalia depends on political reconciliation, regional cooperation, and institutional strengthening, all areas where African leadership is essential. South Africa's diplomatic weight within the African Union and its credibility among African states enhance Somalia's engagement with continental mechanisms aimed at peace and security. Somalia's current political landscape remains complex. The federal government continues to battle extremist groups while simultaneously working to consolidate authority, improve governance, and rebuild national institutions. International partners, including the United States, have supported Somalia's security forces through training, funding, and operational assistance. Yet there is increasing recognition that sustainable progress requires broader political support from African states that can advocate for Somalia's interests within continental and global forums. South Africa's involvement contributes to this broader political backing. By engaging Somalia at the leadership level, South Africa reinforces the principle that Somalia's stability is not only a Horn of Africa issue but a continental concern. This framing aligns with U.S. policy objectives that seek to reduce the burden of unilateral intervention while strengthening multilateral and regional responses to security threats. The United States-Africa strategy has gradually shifted toward partnership models that prioritize local ownership and shared responsibility. This approach reflects lessons learned from decades of external intervention across the continent. In Somalia, U.S. policymakers increasingly emphasize enabling regional actors to take the lead, with American support focused on capacity building, intelligence cooperation, and targeted assistance. South Africa's role fits naturally into this model, reinforcing the legitimacy of African-led engagement. South Africa's diplomatic engagement also underscores Africa's growing confidence in addressing security challenges beyond its immediate subregions. While Somalia is geographically distant from southern Africa, South Africa's involvement demonstrates the continent's interconnected security outlook. Instability in the Horn of Africa has implications for trade routes, migration flows, and regional security dynamics that affect the entire continent. By engaging Somalia, South Africa signals that African security is indivisible. The African Union remains central to Somalia's stabilization efforts, with peace missions and political support frameworks designed to strengthen the Somali state. South Africa's influence within the African Union enhances coordination between Somalia and continental institutions. This alignment supports U.S. objectives that favor multilateral engagement over unilateral action, reducing the risk of fragmented or competing interventions. American praise for Africa-led initiatives reflects a broader acknowledgement of Africa's evolving role in global security architecture. Rather than being passive recipients of international decisions, African states are increasingly shaping security agendas and proposing solutions rooted in regional realities. South Africa's engagement with Somalia exemplifies this trend, reinforcing Africa's credibility as a security actor. Somalia's leadership has welcomed broader African involvement, viewing it as a sign of continental solidarity and shared responsibility. Engagement from respected African states strengthens Somalia's diplomatic standing and provides additional channels for advocacy, investment, and development cooperation. These relationships complement existing partnerships with Western countries, including the United States, creating a more balanced and resilient support network. The United States' response to South Africa's engagement also reflects changing global dynamics. As geopolitical competition intensifies, Washington recognizes the importance of maintaining constructive relationships with influential African states. Supporting Africa-led peace efforts allows the United States to demonstrate respect for African agency while advancing shared security interests. South Africa's role in Somalia also aligns with its broader foreign policy emphasis on multilateralism and non-alignment. While maintaining strong ties with Western partners, South Africa seeks to assert its independence in global affairs. Its engagement with Somalia demonstrates that African leadership in security matters does not conflict with cooperation with the United States but can instead enhance it. The humanitarian dimension of Somalia's challenges further underscores the importance of coordinated international support. Chronic food insecurity, displacement, and climate-related shocks continue to affect millions of Somalis. The United States remains a major humanitarian donor, while African partners provide political support and regional coordination. South Africa's involvement strengthens advocacy for sustained international attention to Somalia's humanitarian needs. Economic development is increasingly viewed as inseparable from security in Somalia. Infrastructure development, trade integration, and investment are critical to reducing conflict drivers. South Africa's experience with industrial development, financial systems, and regional trade integration offers valuable perspectives for Somalia's long-term recovery. These economic dimensions complement U.S. development assistance aimed at building resilience and opportunity. The evolving cooperation among South Africa, Somalia, and the United States reflects a broader narrative of Africa's rising influence in global affairs. Rather than being defined solely by conflict, African states are demonstrating leadership, innovation, and responsibility in addressing complex challenges. This narrative challenges outdated perceptions and highlights Africa's capacity to contribute meaningfully to global stability. South Africa's engagement also reinforces the principle that African states can act as bridge builders between different global actors. By maintaining dialogue with both Western and non-Western partners, South Africa positions itself as a mediator capable of navigating diverse geopolitical interests. This role aligns with U.S. interests in promoting stability without escalating global rivalries within Africa. The United States' support for Africa-led security initiatives is not limited to Somalia. Across the continent, Washington has increasingly emphasized partnerships that empower regional organizations and capable states. South Africa's involvement in Somalia serves as a model for this approach, demonstrating how African leadership can complement international support. Somalia's long-term stability remains a work in progress, but the growing alignment between African leadership and U.S. support represents a positive development. By reinforcing African ownership of security processes, the likelihood of sustainable outcomes increases. South Africa's diplomatic engagement contributes to this momentum, offering political legitimacy and continental backing. The broader implications extend beyond Somalia. Africa's ability to address security challenges through cooperation enhances its global standing and bargaining power. The United States' acknowledgement of Africa-led efforts signals a shift toward more balanced international relationships. South Africa's role in Somalia illustrates how African states can shape global responses rather than simply react to them. This moment reflects Africa's transition from the margins of global security discussions to a position of greater influence. South Africa's engagement with Somalia, supported by the United States, underscores the continent's growing confidence and capability. The collaboration highlights a future in which African leadership, supported by global partners, plays a central role in shaping peace and stability. As international attention continues to focus on Africa's strategic importance, stories like this redefine global narratives. Africa is increasingly recognized not just as a region facing challenges but as a source of solutions. South Africa's engagement with Somalia and the United States' positive response exemplify this transformation. The evolving partnership among South Africa, Somalia, and the United States signals a more mature phase of international cooperation. It reflects respect for African agency, acknowledgement of shared interests, and a commitment to sustainable peace. This approach strengthens Africa's position in global affairs while reinforcing collaborative security frameworks. In this context, Africa's leadership is not symbolic but substantive. South Africa's actions demonstrate that African states are prepared to shoulder responsibility for regional stability. The United States' support affirms that global powers increasingly recognize the value of Africa-led solutions. Together, these dynamics mark a significant step forward in redefining Africa's role on the world stage.
You've been watching Echoes of Africa, where every story carries the sound of tomorrow. If this moved you, subscribe now, like, and share so Africa's voice never fades into silence.